Hey guys, Tyler here, and I wanted to, on this day 5 of official quarantine and working from home for like most of the nation, I wanted to provide some of my expertise. I see that everyone's getting in on the, teaching kids at home business. And I'm not actually an educator technically, although I would say I'm very smart. I mean, I do have a master's degree after all. And so I wanted to give a little bit of a lesson on a very important part of life these days, and that is the Atlanta Braves. And specifically, our first lesson will cover one of their hottest players, Ronald Acuña Jr. So let's jump right in. All right, so Ronald Acuña came into the major leagues in 2018. He played a little bit very early in the year, then became a regular lineup guy in the middle of the year, and started just slugging away and just crushing the ball. He was hitting leadoff, he was hitting cleanup for a little bit, but then he mostly became leadoff just because he's so fast and so powerful, and just was just better in that spot anyway. So if we look at his just look at his batting stats through 111 games in 2018. He hit 26 homers, very big numbers, 64 RBIs, not bad. Batted almost 300. But the biggest thing that happened in the middle of the year was he had a streak of games where he was hitting the leadoff homer in the game, like 4 or 5 games in a row, and I think like 7 over 8 or 9 games in total. And he was just crushing it, and it was just such an advantage to get that one run really early on. And so, but what happened is that he started kind of flipping the bat and he was getting a little cocky with it. And in one series against the Marlins, in the first at bat of the game, here's what happened.
Acuña's hit 12 homers, 24 RBIs, and 25 runs scored leading off. And he got smoked on the very first pitch. Chad Fairchild right out in front of the plate. Acuña tosses the helmet down. And now in a crouch on the third base line. The very first pitch of the game nails Ronald Acuña Jr. And now the Braves are coming out of their dugout looking at Urania. And now both benches are going to empty.
Brad Snitker's leading the charge.
So this was just such a huge moment for the Braves because it was our best player getting just completely beamed in the elbow in a terrible spot. There's our manager going right up there fighting for his kid. That's what I'm talking about. And I mean, and this was not even called for. Like yes, Acuña had been flipping the bat a little bit, getting a little cocky maybe, but he had not been doing anything that warranted absolutely beating a guy in the elbow like that. And the it's basically known that the Marlins didn't ask their pitcher to do that. Their pitcher just went out and did it by himself, and he did get tossed from the game, so that's good. But the Braves just hate this guy. Braves fans hate Urania. They hate the Marlins. They, this started a war basically. This was like World War One, assassinating the Archduke. So I mean, huge moment in Braves history here. So after that injury, Acuna came back after a little while and started hitting again. He was doing fine. He got hit in the elbow there. I think it was like the nerves, maybe some nerve issues with his hands, but it got all better. And we went to the playoffs. The Braves won the National League East that year for the first time in 5 years. Actually, we had a long stretch there where we didn't win the division or make the playoffs at all. And we were looking actually kind of bad before 2018. But then we made the playoffs and we're against our old rivals, the Dodgers. Now, you have to understand that the Braves versus the Dodgers in the last 15 years has been this really painful rivalry where every time we go out west to play them, it's just like we just get crushed. And the Dodgers are very good. There's no doubt about that. But you have to understand that the Braves just get owned by them every time. We lost to them in the playoffs in 2013, 3 games to 1 in the division series. We just keep losing to them in the regular series. I think we had won at this point. I think we had won like 2 of the last 12 games against them in the regular season. And part of it's kind of funny because like the Braves broadcast booth had a couple of former Dodgers. Don Sutton was in the radio booth. He was a former Dodger. Joe Simpson, former Dodger. So I think that's kind of like part of the curse for me. So once we get those guys are gone, maybe they'll be better. Anyways, so we play on the Dodgers in the division series, best of 5. Braves go out west, go down 2-0 immediately. Like just lose 2 games, terrible. But we came back to Atlanta for the third game, and that's when Acuna got another chance to bat. And here's what happened. And let me just set the stage for you a little bit for here for this part, because I was actually at this game and it was crazy. So we're in the bottom of the second, and the top of the order has come up again for the Braves because the Dodgers pitcher, with 2 outs, he had given up a couple of hits to the bottom of the order. The bases got loaded. He actually walked our pitcher with the bases loaded to walk in this first run, and now the stadium's just going nuts and making as much noise as they can. Everyone's chopping, everyone's chanting. We got 3-0 now because he can't throw a strike. And here's what happened.
And now with the bases loaded, it's 3-0 on Ronald Acuña Jr. You don't want to give him anything too good. And he'll take nowhere. Wow.
And so that totally would have been a ball, except for I think Acuña stood up a little bit, and so either that made his strike zone bigger, or it, the umpire was just like, well, screw you, I'm not giving you a ball if you're not going to stay in the box like that. So it should have been walking in a second run there.
Don't concede anything. Get in there, even though that pitch was a little hotter than. That was a gift. Yeah. See if you can take advantage of it. The 3-1, and Acuña swings. It's a high drive to left center field. Taylor back at the wall. It is gone. A grand slam for Acuña.
Huge grand slam. Huge. I mean, the stadium was absolutely shaking after that happened. It was so amazing. Just an epic Braves moment. And this is going to go down as like probably one of the highlights of Acuña's career. He became the youngest player to hit a grand slam in the postseason. He's not even 21 yet in this. I think he's just turned 20, in fact, in this at this moment. And so this is huge. And if you go back, I just want to go back and if you look very, very closely right in up here, you can actually see me jumping around. I had just gotten 2 beers and I was double fisting, and I was jumping and trying not to spill my beer, but it was inevitably splashing all over me and my wife. But that's all right because, hey, 5-0 was the score after that grand slam. Now, the Braves did go on to win that game in the end. We won 6-5, but then we did lose the next game, the next night, to lose the division series, and that would end our playoff run for that year. But since then, Acuña has gotten even bigger and better. Last year was one of his best years ever. Out of 2, of course, so it's but it's still one of his best ever. Let's go back. Last year, he had 5.7 wins above replacement, which is definitely all-star caliber. He almost had a 40-40 year, which is a year of 40 home runs and 40 stolen bases. He missed it by like 4 stolen bases. And that's a thing that only like 3 or 5 players have done in the entire history of all of baseball. And so he's 37 steals here. Played all but 6 games. Scored 127 runs, 175 hits, and hit 280. So all in all, humongous stats. And the guy is absolutely on fire. Now, one thing I want to mention is that the bat flipping has gotten a little bit bad lately. In fact, there was a game kind of towards the middle of August, I think, where he hit a ball to the right field, and it was looking like a homer, or at least he thought it was a homer. He flips the bat and just kind of starts like walking. Well, it hits off the wall, and it's totally like in the field. And if he had been running, he could have been to first or second base, he could have been to second base, but instead he just had to like walk into first, like, oh, I missed it, like dang. And he got chewed out for that, as he absolutely should have been. But then it happened again in the postseason where we lost last year. We lost to the Cardinals in the postseason 3-2. And man, that was in game 1, and I think we might have won that game if he had run on a big hit instead of walking and watching it, hoping it was a homer. So keep your eye on that if you're an Acuña fan going forward. We need to get a little bit of an attitude change. Get a nice big old run Acuña run sign, and hopefully that'll work itself out, and he'll make the All-Star team and someday maybe even the Hall of Fame. All right, that's Braves Lesson 1 on Ronald Acuña Jr. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.